Hawks POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Hawks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Hawks POSTCAST, your home for the best Atlanta Hawks talk. It's quick hitting local insight after every game. You can't get anywhere but right here at Locked On. I'm your host, Tenitra. Batiste. Alongside me is NBA and college basketball analyst DeShaun. Tate. The Hawks POSTCAST is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. So the Hawks made it 5 in a row. We'll talk about the turning point in the Hawks' 131-113 comeback win over the Milwaukee Bucks, and how erasing a 16-point deficit has them over 500, and how they were able to do it. Tate, the Hawks opened the second half with a 10-0 run, and that was the turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
So, an Onyeka Okongwu 3 actually kicked off a 7-0 run in the third quarter. Then Nickeil Alexander-Walker hits a three-pointer. That gives the Hawks a 5-point lead with about 8:34 to go in the quarter. And then he hit another three, and that gave the Hawks an 8-point lead. And it seemed like after that, it was really the Hawks' game to lose. They took command and really never looked back.
And all just to think that it started with perhaps maybe the one guy that they've been really relying upon more than I think a lot of people really pay attention to, or really, that doesn't get talked about nearly as much as he should, especially from behind the arc, and that's Onyeka Okongwu.
Yes.
5 of those 10 points, one of them being a three-pointer coming from him. He started off with the first, 5-0 run in that third quarter. And obviously they locked down quite a bit, made the decision, it seems like, to lock down on defense. I think is one thing sometimes a stop happens to go your way because something the other team maybe didn't do, but to take the initiative on the defensive end, I think is where you can kind of see that the Atlanta Hawks was like, all right, that's enough. It's a totally different quarter. By the way, we know that we're not necessarily known for playing well in this quarter. Let's come out with some energy and just try and give a little bit of an identity. I get it. It's just 1/3 quarter, because God forbid it be the couple days later in the third quarter and it looks totally opposite. But we've seen that before. But you got to start somewhere. This was definitely a good starting point for the team, and they really looked like they were just a totally different team, night and day, apples and oranges. Just someone to and to be fair, in large part because of the defense that Atlanta put on the floor and the adjustments and so forth that were made. Milwaukee looked like a totally different team too. Atlanta took advantage of doing what you're supposed to do. That's why they're on a 5-game win streak after this. This is why Milwaukee's on a 4-game losing streak after this, is because Milwaukee has just basically been in disarray. Atlanta has been taking advantage of it. They've got issues within their own locker rooms, and Giannis wants out and all this other talk. Atlanta took advantage of it, and they just happen to also appear to be in a better headspace, if not nothing else, starting in the third quarter.
Right. Nothing like going 32-18, outscoring the Milwaukee Bucks by 14 points after we saw the Hawks get outscored by 13 in that first quarter. So a nice bounce back, a nice reset by this Hawks team, as you mentioned, in a quarter where we really don't normally see it. And you kind of alluded to it already, but your take for the night was that Quin Snyder made a decision we have all been waiting for him to make.
And he did. He I feel like that's something that we've all, like you said, kind of been waiting on, not only doubling down on Giannis, but giving them a little bit of a different look by putting Dyson Daniels on Giannis. And sometimes when, you just kind of on the surface level kind of look at what that could look like, it's like, okay, he's just way too small. There's no way he's going to be able to defend Giannis Antetokounmpo. But for Giannis being one of their point forwards, primary ball handlers, bringing the ball up the floor a lot of times, a smaller guard who can kind of, I guess, get under the legs, if you will, of a taller, player that's on offense, can kind of disrupt and kind of be like a little bit like of a pest, be a gnat a little bit, and just don't give him any room to breathe and don't give him that opportunity to shoot that ball coming from the waist level. When you're somebody that's already waist level at a guy that's 7 feet tall, it definitely puts you in position to be able to get some stops. And we know how much this team really feeds off of the energy of Dyson Daniels getting stops. Plus, he had a good offensive game too.
Yeah, and to say Dyson Daniels had a good defensive game with no steals is quite impressive. And
Yes,
normally we go into this game looking to see what Double O is going to do because he has played some of his best ball against some of the best bigs in the league, but particularly against Giannis Antetokounmpo. But I felt like tonight, Onyeka had a good overall game, but he wasn't his lockdown self against Giannis. So yes, very crafty of Quin Snyder to say, hey, there's somebody who maybe on paper doesn't look like he'd be able to guard Giannis because, like you said, everything from the size differential to the wingspan and all points in between. But when Dyson Daniels puts his mind to it, he is a quintessential lockdown defender. And we saw him bring the help that was also necessary for the Hawks tonight because, again, you look at the first quarter and, Giannis has 10 points in the first quarter and then another 6 points in the second quarter. But when you go to that third quarter where we really started to see the tide turn, only 3 points in the third quarter and only another 5 in the fourth. So yeah, nice work by Quin to make an adjustment on the most important piece for the Bucks offense. And for me, the take was live by the 3, die by the 3. So the 3 was working for Milwaukee rather, in that first quarter, almost 67% from 3 from them. And then in the second quarter as well, nice game, a little bit less, 50%. But when you go to that third quarter, 16.7% from 3. And that,
wow.
Yeah. And that's really not something you see that's just a product of, they went cold. No, there was something that was going on with the defense that Quin Snyder was putting together and then that the Hawks were executing that allowed for that. But on the flip side, the Hawks were kind of, I don't want to say like full on dying by the 3 in the beginning of the game, but they were kind of dying by the 3 because they only shot 27% from beyond the arc. And then slowly but surely in that second quarter, they picked up the pace and got it up to 60% and then stayed at a respectable 50% for that third quarter and about 38% for the fourth quarter. So it was like the tale of two halves in the most important space. But yeah, if you're going to die by the 3, I'd rather you do it like the Hawks do in the first half and then pick up the pace in the second half because that's how you pick up a win.
I think there's a couple different elements here. Whenever you have a team that, again, a team that hasn't been playing together like the Atlanta Hawks very well, that's able to develop and establish chemistry amongst one another. Lots of new players. I like to remind the people are in a Hawks uniform this season for the very first time. That should give some positivity and some optimism vibes as well. But when you go from minus 16 against this team, and then you turn that around to, basically a plus 34 situation, I mean, that's not only hard to do, but that's really impressive. And I think when you don't have to rely on a guy who has been your, Mr. Do everything all season long, being Jalen Johnson. Lately, I'm not know if I go as far as saying struggles, but just looking more human. Just looking a little bit more human than he typically does or has been at for 75%, over 75% of the season. I think that actually, makes a difference because it does say something saying, you know what, we got your back, we got you covered kind of deal. So I think that and just trending in the right direction. I get it. It's a game, that was on the road where they've been pretty good all season. But they've also been slowly starting to win some games at home, and some of that energy has been carrying over from the road too. So I think that it's just good vibes. It's not going to come with exclamation points and being highlighted and everything else, but I think it's best that the Hawks are able to do the things that they're doing right now without a whole bunch of attention being brought to them. By the way, no JK on top of that, who's been a lot of really huge, big help for this team. Even more of an exclamation.
Out with left knee inflammation was Jonathan Kuminga tonight, and the Hawks were still able to not just survive, but thrive. There was a second unit star who showed up big tonight. We'll talk X Factor next. This episode of our Hawks Postcast is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like confetti craze, fruity rainbow, or cotton candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and you're going to get your number one pick for the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft, just like I might have mine. So I'll tell you, when you have a flavor like fruity rainbow or cotton candy, that's going to be pretty darn interesting. And alternatively, you can circle back to any flavor that you've tried previously as still your top contender. So basically what you do is you have a flavor that you like, and that's going to be the flavor that you draft number one. So 5 Hour Energy shots give you a boost with zero sugar, which is why I always love it, because I think it's so important to know and so important for me that there's no crash. 5 Hour Energy has a lot of upcoming flavor innovations planned as well. So you can mention the flavor you'd love to see get made. Mention a favorite flavor for a limited time from 5 Hour Energy that you'd love to see come back or that you like to see them maintain. For me, I just love basic flavors like grape, to be honest with you, but I can't find anything in the 5 Hour Energy family that I don't like. So you can find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon, 5hourenergy.com. And again, I'm thinking I'm going to go with this fruity rainbow because it has sweet layered fruit notes in every sip, but I might switch it up and go cotton candy. That might be my number one draft pick as well. Stay tuned. This episode of our Hawks Postcast is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. Pull up the Game Time app, pick an upcoming NBA game, and have tickets locked in within minutes. You'll love seeing the all-in price up front. No surprise fees at checkout. You also will enjoy being able to see the view from the seat before buying. Makes the decision easy. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Now that's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today, and remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. That's gametime.co. This episode of our Hawks Postcast is brought to you by TurboTax. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is, well, a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve, while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. So it's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. So Zaccharie Risacher may have had a slow start in this game against the Bucks, but his turn in the second half helped the Hawks to get a win, and that's why he's our X Factor.
It's time to reveal who made the biggest under-the-radar impact with today's X Factor.
In that first quarter, Zaccharie Risacher had just 3 points, 1 rebound, and in the second quarter, again, just 3 points and another rebound. But second half, Zaccharie Risacher really turned it on. He was able to score 6 points in the third quarter to go along with a couple boards. And then that, and for him, let me just say this. Although his stat line at the end of the game may have only been 12 points and 4 rebounds on 4 of 9 shooting from the field, it was the 4 of 7 shooting from 3. And it was when he shot the 3 ball at maybe the most critical juncture of the game. That's really, for me, why he was the X factor, because there was a 9-0 run. Even in that second quarter, when he only scored a couple baskets, there was a 9-0 run by the Hawks bench that was led by him that initially cut that Bucks lead to 2. And I think that kind of set the stage for what was going to happen in the second half.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Tenitra. You know, when you start talking about the ability to shoot the threes at the clip that he did, it kind of felt like he was on a heater, and it looks like he
Yeah.
was in rhythm, right? He
Yes.
was just in sync. He looks like he
Yes.
was having fun, which is something I can't always say I feel that I see out of him, especially earlier this year. And then he's just looking confident. There's sometimes when you see him looking extremely confident, and then sometimes it looks like sometimes he's like Eeyore out there. It's like he's playing. You can see you can see it happening in his mind in real time, almost as if he's like really wearing his emotions on his sleeves a little bit when he's not playing a good game. You could tell that when he gets going, that the guys get really excited for him. And I know a lot of times they try to get him involved early and often, so that because I think they believe that they know how big of a key of piece that they really need him to be on both sides of the ball, which is in fairness, just the reality. That's why you drafted him, to be that 3-and-D, to be that guy that can impact the game in multiple ways because of his length and because of his athleticism. Ironically and coincidentally enough, with that 10-0 run in the third quarter and then him wearing number 10, that just happens to be the common denominator for us. But you know, it kind of takes me back, Tenitra, to remember when Jalen Johnson went down last year, who the guy that was relied upon so much to kind of stand in the gap a little bit and be the next man up. That's him. No Jonathan Kuminga at the small forward position tonight. Who stands in the gap? That's him. So I think that this played a big part. And what better time for him to begin to grow some of that confidence than down the stretch. Now you're plus 500, 5-game winning streak, knowing that you're fighting for a playoff position, trying to get it together at the right time.
Yeah, and it's always good, you know, as the Hawks watch what the Milwaukee Bucks are doing, as they watch what the New Orleans Pelicans are doing. It's about playoff seeding, but it is also about draft seeding as well. So don't think we're not thinking about both of those factors as we watch this game and how it played out and what the Milwaukee Bucks are going to do for the remainder of the season. We're watching. But yeah, in addition to what we saw in Zaccharie Risacher as an X factor, certainly got to give a nod of sorts to Mo Gay. When you have someone like Jonathan Kuminga doing his thing, and even Spates with Ace and Newell here and there, it kind of sent Mo Gay back to kind of the shadows, if you will. But tonight he showed up, 8 points on 3 of 4 shooting, 2 of 2 from the 3-point line, 5 rebounds, and did all that in just 13 minutes. So Mo Gay, I felt like, was not quite a full X factor, but he was an X factor in some sort. But I got to give Swish 3809 the credit for the comment, because I love this. He said Dyson was the X, Y, and Z factor on the Greek Freak. We don't disagree. But real quick, before we wrap up, this kind of bothered me, DeShaun. And so I just had to kind of bring it out, right? So I've been out of town for a couple of days and am just kind of catching up on what's been going on in Atlanta, and slowly but surely in figuring out people are feeling some type of way. Some people, it's like they're feeling some type of way for what the Hawks are going to do in one of the games in their homestand. So if we look at their schedule, of course, they're wrapping up, headed back home after this Milwaukee win. They come back to State Farm Arena, and let's see, they are taking on the Sixers Saturday night. Then they've got the Mavs Tuesday. They have the Nets Thursday, and then the Bucks again Saturday. No, nobody cares about that game. All the conversation and the commentary is about what's going on March 16th against the Orlando Magic. I just want to know, DeShaun, I feel like it's fake outrage. Like, don't we have better things to do than be concerned about the Hawks' ties to Magic City, where this is not anything new? And I think I saw one comment that said it best, which is, it's just about lemon pepper wings and just kind of just loving on the culture of Atlanta. It's not like you're going to see a show going across the stage. But that one kind of made me feel some type of way, because I'm like, can't we just be excited that the Hawks are on a 5-game win streak and that they are coming home for a 5-game homestand, that they can legit go they can go 4-1, heck, they can go 5-0 and really put themselves in position to say, hey, in these last couple of games, we're going to contend to see if maybe we can either get out of the play-in round or at least get to the top of the play-in.
Number one in sports entertainment with hosting these games is the Atlanta Hawks number one.
Yes, for
Number two, it
years.
sounds like a bunch of jealous and envious people that won't be able to be there themselves. And I
Haters.
think that everybody knows that it's all about the ATO culture, and that's just what it is. And so either get with it or move around.
Exactly.
That's how I
Yeah.
see it.
That's how I see it too. That one was bothering me, and I'm like, come on, man. Fake rage, but we'll let that ride. We'll let that ride because we are not fake raging at all. We are very, very excited about what we're seeing with this Hawks team coming together, building chemistry, and kind of learning how to play together at the most important time, which is down the stretch. The Hawks Postcast is the number one place to hang out after every game and is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And for more on the Hawks, head over to Locked On Hawks with our guy, Brad Rowland. We'll see you next time.